Zone D, the newest podcast for teens to learn from people who have already succeeded. Do you think that players like Sawyer and Preston are born with their hard work and talent?
Hard work, no. Talent, yes. I mean, I think anybody can work hard, which is the good thing. Talent, a lot of people are born with talent. It's what you do with it. And I think that's what separates the great ones from people that, you hear people talk about people all the time. Oh, he could have been really good. But the great ones are able to work hard and use their talent.
Right, yeah. I am very excited and honored to have Coach Novakov, who is the head coach of the Parish Panthers football team. His team won their third straight TAPS championship. This is a three-peat and very fun to say because it happens so rarely. He has been the head coach since 2016 and was offensive coordinator for 5 years prior. He played quarterback at Notre Dame and went to high school in Dallas. Coach Novakov, thank you so much for joining us today, and I really appreciate you making your time into your busy schedule.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
I'm sure you're making rounds all to the all big sports shows, discussing your team's accomplishments. So let's jump into episode 3 of Zone D. I call the podcast Zone D because you can learn a lot about their coach and their philosophy on how they approach zone defense. Since I know you are more focused on the offensive side of the ball, I'd like to start with some questions about how you attack zone defense. So my first question is, how do you teach your offense to recognize when the defense is playing zone?
Well, that's a good question. There's several ways we teach them. Number one, before the snap, you want to try to see what kind of technique the guy over you is playing. So if you're an outside wide receiver and the corner is looking at you versus looking at the quarterback, that's a pretty good indicator that if he's looking at you, it's man. If he's looking inside at the quarterback, then it's probably zone. But then once the ball's snapped, we tell our receivers they can feel whether there's a guy chasing them or whether they're not chasing him and they're letting them run through zones. And so once they snap the ball, they kind of figure it out that way by feeling whether there's guys chasing them across the field or whether they're letting them go.
So I know you played quarterback at Notre Dame and have developed Preston Sohn and starting to develop Sawyer Anderson to both have unbelievable seasons. It seems like you have a tremendous skill to develop great quarterbacks. So I want to ask a few questions about that.
Right.
When you were younger, were you as good as Preston and Sawyer are when you played in high school?
No, not anywhere close.
So I heard that you were training Preston from a young age. So what skills did you see in them right away to believe that you can make them into something special?
Yeah, I had both of them I had Preston since he was in 5th grade, and I had Sawyer since he was in 3rd grade, I think 3rd or 4th grade, I can't remember. But, the interesting thing is you can see right away when there's a unique talent like that. It kind of presents itself no matter what age they are. You can tell right away that this kid's different, especially at that position than pretty much everybody else.
Yeah. So when you were training them at their young ages, what are the key pieces of their game that you would focus on?
Well, you can tell right off the bat they both have a natural ability to throw the ball, and throwing the ball is a skill that I think you're born with. You can tweak it a little bit and help somebody become a better passer, but usually you can pretty much tell immediately when somebody is a naturally gifted thrower. So I noticed immediately both of them had the ability to do that, but then they also have characteristics that are, kind of those intangibles. They were both winners at a young age. They were leaders. Their teammates kind of gravitated towards them. So you can see all that, also as they were coming up. And I just, played a lot of games in the youth football with them, and both of them had an incredible knack to pull games out and to win games and to win championships. And so that carried over to the high school level.
Yeah. So from their young careers to now, how much weight training are your quarterbacks doing? And do you think that's an important part of a quarterback's development?
Yeah, they both do a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think weight training, once you get to high school, is a huge part of making sure your body's in shape to take the pounding that football demands of you. So we have all our players lift weights pretty strenuously with our strength coach.
So as we're talking a little bit about non-football activities, Are there other non-football related activities that you like to spend time with them on, like mental conditioning, um, all that type of stuff?
No, I mean, time I spend with them is football related. Now we have a great relationship off the field, just as kind of a, you know, mentor mentee type thing. But most of the time spent with Preston or Sawyer is spent doing football related activities, whether it's watching film or going concepts or whatever it is. There's just not enough time, especially during the season, to not spend time with them focusing on football related stuff. But no, I mean, out in the off season and just randomly, we talk all the time, and we'll talk about things, but we don't like go fishing or anything like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, do you think that players like Sawyer and Preston are born with their hard work and talent?
Hard work, no. Talent, yes. I mean, I think anybody can work hard, which is the good thing. Talent, a lot of people are born with talent. It's what you do with it, and I think that's what separates the great ones from people that you hear people talk about people all the time. Oh, he could have been really good, but the great ones are able to work hard and use their talent.
Right, yeah. So, since you have developed both of these quarterbacks, and we all know the NFL desperately needs people to develop their young quarterbacks, have you ever been thinking about going to be an NFL coach?
No, I actually did that. I was with the Cowboys briefly, so I did quality control. I think it was 2011, somewhere around there. So I did it briefly, but no, I enjoy where I'm at right now at Parish. So I don't see myself going anywhere for a while.
So, speaking of Dallas Cowboys and quality control, what is a quality control assistant? What do they do?
So it's basically like a GA or an analyst. It's like the low level person on the totem pole. So you do all the breakdowns of the film and draw all the drawings for the week that they give out a weekly playbook every week. And so the drawings of the new route concepts or new run plays or the new defenses that have to go in that they hand out to the players, you draw all those up on Microsoft Visio, which is a program they use in the NFL to help get the players. You get them their weekly game plan or scouting report, and you put all those together every week, along with doing the breakdowns for the coordinators. Go to watch the film. It's already broken down by down, distance, coverage, front, defensive, how the defense is. You sort how the defense is playing into all together so they can see how they're playing trips, every snap of trips, what's the defense doing? Every snap of, 2x2, what's the defense doing? So it's kind of like a low level to grunt work, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. So, I want to talk about your high school days for a minute. When you were at St. Mark's, did you play any other sports there besides football?
Yeah, I did basketball and track.
So, actually, my dad went to St. Mark's, and he was dying to know if you know who Mr. Adams is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who doesn't know who Mr. Adams? Everybody knows Mr. Adams.
And then he was wondering why you weren't coaching there and not at St. Mark's, or not.
Yeah.
Why you were coaching at St. Why you were coaching at
At Parish instead of St.
yeah
Mark's?
yeah.
That's a good question. I love St. Mark's. I went there, but I really enjoy Parish wasn't around when I was in high school. And so I think the unique thing about Parish is they play a really high level of football in TAP 6A, but they also offer an education comparable to St. Mark's. So, for someone like me that was really into both, I think Parish offers a better niche. That's just my opinion, but I think the district we play in is second to none in terms of competition. And I really like how we have a full playoffs and, we do all those things that are very, that I would have liked to have done when I was in high school.
Right. So I know that this Parish high school team has so many great players getting all these D1 contracts from all these schools. So let's talk about them a little bit. So
Okay.
I know Andrew Paul has been becoming a superstar this year. So what do you think changed in his head or during his work ethic throughout this season?
I don't know that something necessarily changed. He was really good last year. He was All-State last year too. I just think he gained a lot of confidence, and as he kept playing, he got better and better. He also worked really hard between last year and this year. So I just think he got more opportunities, and I think he's always been a special player. I just think he got rolling and got a lot of confidence, and that's how he ended up doing what he did.
So with him getting all these D1 offers, do you participate at all in the recruiting process with your players?
Yeah, I talk to the coaches. I try to stay out of getting involved in telling players where to go or my opinion, because it's their life, so they need to make whatever decision is best for them. If they ask me for an opinion, I'll certainly tell them. But other than I'm basically like a facilitator or a secretary, or a logistics coordinator. I try to get kids on the phone, set up visits, do all that kind of stuff. But other than that, I'm not involved in you should go here, or, this is a better program than this program. I try to stay out of all that. I just want the kids to go somewhere where they're happy and where they want to be.
Right. So Keegan Addison, he's been a 3-time state champ, 2-time first team, 4-time first team all-district, defensive MVP. What makes him so great on and off the field?
Well, he's really tough. He's one of the toughest people mentally and physically I've ever been around. So his toughness is unique and second to none. Then he's got incredible instincts as a linebacker to find the football. So one of the best things about Keegan is his ability to get to the football and get there quickly. And then when he does, he's one of the hardest hitters I've ever been around. So that kind of combine those three things. He's probably one of the best players I've ever coached.
So what advice would you give defensive players that want to play like Keegan? What do they have to do to get up to Keegan's level?
Well, Keegan never missed a workout. So that's number one. He was always at workouts. Even he had surgery and he was there the next morning. So the dedication is the number one thing I would tell him. And then I would tell him to just keep working hard and keep perfecting your craft, because a lot of it is how bad you want it.
So when you're watching these middle school kids playing in their games, can you tell a player that you want to develop versus a player that you think is just going to not do as well?
There's a bunch of – you can obviously tell talented football players at any level because they stand out, but there's a lot of kids that develop into all-state players that I remember as middle schoolers, and I wouldn't necessarily predicted that. So it's not a foolproof thing where you can look on the middle school football field and say, oh, there's somebody that's going to be all-state, and there's somebody that's not going to be very good at all. It doesn't necessarily work that way. So you got to keep everybody involved and keep developing everybody, because you never know who's gonna turn into that all-state player.
Right. So I know that we are learning a lot about you right now, but I want to take 40 seconds and just learn even more with just some quick hits.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Ready.
We're going to put 40 seconds on the play clock.
All right.
Who is your favorite NFL player?
Tim Brown.
Favorite NFL team?
Dallas Cowboys.
Would you rather watch high school, college, or an NFL game? Favorite exercise for conditioning?
Gassers.
Do you prefer YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok?
Huh.
Favorite coach you've had?
Ooh, that's a good one. Jay McCauley.
Morning person or night person?
Morning.
Screamer or calm during halftime?
Pretty much calm. Every once in a while, I'll get upset.
That's the 40 seconds. I would have asked more, but it's the end of the 40 seconds. All right, so I just want to finish it off with just a few more questions, because there's so much that I want to ask. So after your 2020 season, I heard that your team motto was "Let's be legendary." Is that right?
Yeah, well, it was during the 2020 season, because we wanted them, everybody's going to remember that it was that COVID year. And so I told them everybody would remember who won the state championship during COVID. And so that was kind of the rallying cry that we chose, or they chose, to try to be legendary. And that, I'm always going to remember that year. I'm always going to remember who won the state championship.
Right. So do you try to have a motto to push your kids every year?
Yeah, but those things they're best, when they kind of come organically. If you try to manufacture one at the beginning of the year, a lot of times it feels forced, so it doesn't fit the team. A lot of those things just kind of come about based on the personality of your team. So I kind of try to let it happen organically.
Right. So when you're in these playoff situations, playing for state titles, how do you motivate your players to get up and get going?
Well, if they're not motivated on their own to play in the state playoffs, you've got a bigger problem with your team. So I don't think motivating them is something that I should have to do if they're the type of team that I think they are. The thing you want to try to do, or what I try to do with them, is remind them of a couple things that, their assignments, to do their job, to rely on their training, and not get too hyped up in the moment to where they get overwhelmed and they get too emotional. We try to, believe it or not, we try to take all the emotion out of it and just execute so that they can go and play the way they're capable of playing.
Right. So during the off season, after these state titles that you win, what do you expect your players to go and do?
Right now, we're giving them a little bit of time off, but we'll start our off-season program, which they're going to lift in the mornings. So I expect them just to come to lift and work out and get stronger. And then once spring gets closer, we'll have spring football. And then in the summer, we do our summer workouts and summer conditioning.
So I know that you had an overtime series for Preston Stonen. Did you enjoy doing that, and did you think the players enjoyed doing that?
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to like it, but I really liked it. You get to be close with the crew, and the guys were really good guys that filmed the show, and it wasn't. They did a great job of making it not intrusive, and it wasn't disruptive like I thought it was going to be. So I was pleasantly surprised with how much fun that was, and it also was really cool because it documented kind of week by week our first state championship run. But then the players, yeah, to answer your question, they absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it was really fun to watch. So, but do you think that added extra pressure to your players knowing that there's cameras around and it's going everywhere? People are going to see it.
Yeah, absolutely added extra pressure, which was one of the reasons, we were worried about doing it because there was already enough pressure that year on that group, and so we didn't want to overwhelm them and put all that pressure of having the cameras around 24/7. But we did a lot of wrestling with it about whether to do it or not. And at the end of the day, I would do it all over again for sure.
So my final question that I like to end every one of my podcasts with would be, what would you tell your 12-year-old self now if you knew what you knew?
If I knew what I knew, what would I tell my 12-year-old self now? Well, that's a good one. I would tell my 12-year-old self that when you make excuses, everybody knows you're full of crap. So don't make excuses and do what you say you're going to do.
So, Coach Novakov, I could talk to you longer, but I know you have a very busy schedule. And it's been really fun to me because I'll always remember you as my first three-peat champion guest.
All right. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate you having me on.